Good morning. Can you hear me?
Sure can. Good morning.
Great,
Morning.
thank you.
Okay.
Good morning.
Good morning, ma'am.
Morning, everyone.
Okay, Liz, it's 9:30. We can get started.
Good morning. Thank you. My name is Liz Kukla. I'm the Secretary of the Board of Zoning Appeals. I'm going to read the preamble for you this morning, this October 10th, 2022. In compliance with notification requirements of the city's open meeting law in section 101.021 of the codified ordinances of Cleveland, Ohio, 1976, notice of this meeting has been publicly posted. All boards and commissions under the purview of the city planning department conducts its meetings according to Robert's Rules of Order. Actions during the meeting will be taken by voice vote. Abstentions from any vote due to a conflict of interest should be stated for the record prior to the taking of any vote. In order to ensure that everyone participating in the meeting have the opportunity to be heard, we ask that you use the raise hand feature before asking a question or making a comment. The raise hand feature can be found in the participants panel on the desktop and mobile version and activated by clicking the hand icon. Please wait for the chair or facilitator to recognize you and be sure to select unmute and announce yourself before you speak. When finished speaking, please lower your hand by clicking on the raise hand icon again and mute your microphone. We will also be utilizing the chat feature to communicate with participants. The chat feature can be activated by clicking the chat button located on the bottom of the WebEx screen. Please note that call-in users can unmute by using *6. All meeting activity is being recorded via the WebEx platform. These proceedings are also being live streamed via YouTube for public view. We have provided a link to the meeting for those who wish to speak on a particular case via our website and email. All requests to speak on a particular matter have been considered. We've also received emails from those who have provided written comment on a particular matter. Back to you, Madam Chair.
Thank you. Can you go ahead and call the roll, please?
Sure thing. Ms. Brown?
Present.
Ms. Holzer?
Present.
Ms. Fay? Ms. Britt?
Here.
Madam Chair, we have a quorum with 3.
Thank you. Just to announce, since we only have 3 members, you have to have a unanimous vote, but it is your right to postpone until we have a full complement, which will be for a while, so it's on you. So when your case gets called, let us know. Okay, go ahead. We have a withdrawal today.
Yes, Madam Chair, that's calendar number 22-168 regarding 815 Superior Avenue, Downtown Properties LTD owner proposed to establish a tattoo use in a general retail business district. The applicant has decided not to go forward with the case at this time. And those are the extent of the withdrawals and the postponements that we have at this time. Thank you.
Thank you. I think I see Councilman Hairston on today, so we will get started with his case. Ms. Holzer.
All right, so we are starting with calendar number 22-79. This is at 7114 St. Clair Avenue. Eric Gregory, owner, and Chanel Clemens want an expansion of use as bar and restaurant to second floor and basement in a C1 local retail business zoning district. Owner appeals for relief from the strict application of the Cleveland Codified Ordinances as outlined in the agenda and the public record, of which there is one. This case was first postponed from July 11th to allow the appellant to seek purchase of a nearby land bank lot and submit updated drawings. The case was then postponed for a second time on September 12th, 2022 at the request of the Board of Zoning Appeals to allow the appellant time to meet with the councilman. And with that, I will hand it over to Ms. Brown for the oath.
Thank you. Good morning. I'm swearing in all who are present for this case. Do you swear or affirm that the testimony you're about to give is the whole truth and nothing but the truth? Please raise your hand. Reply, I do. State your name and your address, please.
Chanel Clemens.
Alex 1048 East 70th. I do.
Chanel Clemens. Set 59 Santon Circle, Bedford, Ohio, 44146. I do.
Anthony Harrison, Cleveland City Council, Ward 10, 601 Lakeside. I do.
Your Honor, I do. My name is Jimmy Mack Jr. I'm the attorney at law. My address is Post Office Box 391056, Solon, Ohio, and I represent Ms. Clemens.
Madam Chair, there was someone who swore in with an address of East 70th Street. I could not hear the name. Did you?
I could not either. I was gonna ask about that.
Would you
Who,
please?
yeah, who swore in the first time?
Carl, C-A-R-L, Gallick, S-K-A-L-A-K, 1048 East 70th.
Thank you.
You're very welcome.
Madam Chair?
Thank you. Liz, I think we did the history, correct?
That's correct.
Okay, legal standard, please.
Madam Chair, members of the board, appellant is requesting an area variance from the parking regulations of the zoning code. To obtain the area variance, appellant must prove that denying the request will create a practical difficulty not generally shared by other land or buildings in the same district, will deprive the appellant of substantial property rights, and that granting the variance will not be contrary to the purpose and intent of the zoning code.
Thank you. Who's gonna be the spokesperson for this case?
Your Honor, I am, Your Honor, my name again is Attorney Jim Mack, and I represent Ms. Clemens. And Your Honor.
Okay, Mr. Mack, and just Madam Chair, there's no judges here.
Okay. Madam Chair, on September the 12th, I continued this at the councilman's request. We have cooperated with the councilman to the very best of our abilities. And I just would like to make a statement, if you would allow me to. It would take me maybe 3 or 4 minutes, Your Honor. Your Honor, this request is for a business that's been in business for approximately 6 years there at that particular location. We're asking for the variance in order to enable this business to continue to grow, Your Honor. It will be a loss to this business if this variance is not given. Madam Chair, as you know, this is just for off-street parking requirements. And what I want to say to you is that since COVID-19, the pandemic caused a lot of businesses to close. My client has suffered economic loss, but has struggled to remain open. Your Honor, Madam Chair, it hasn't been easy. The cost of doing business has gone up. Like other businesses, they are looking to increase their business and to maintain their business. Your Honor, they have maintained a staff, Madam Chair, they have maintained a staff despite the challenging times. They are contributing to city taxes, state taxes, federal taxes. They want to continue to function in the area, Your Honor. Excuse me, Your Honor, I'm such a lawyer. This business variance will allow them to increase their business, to be able to stay open, to be able to maintain their staff. They have provided the additional 19 spots, as you can see from the diagrams. There is no reason why this variance should not be granted, Your Honor. Substantial justice would be done by granting the variance. The variance is not substantial. The parking is off street. There will be no city services that will be.
Hey, Mr. Mack, I want to interrupt you for 1 sec. You said that the spaces have been provided.
Yes, Your Honor. Excuse me. The diagram and the engineering, the architect plans has been there. And if they go back to the photos, you will see where the 19 spots are across the street from the bar, off premises. So again, they will not be affecting any local government services, safety forces, water, sewage, garbage, collections of any of those things. And finally, I want to wrap up by saying, this is a land in America where we bolster and try to help people a free enterprise, a country that prides itself on fostering the American dream. And this is the American dream for them. And they've been in for 6 years, and COVID is trying to take that away. Never did our founders intend for restraints against pursuit of happiness and economic freedom. Prevent one from operating this business the way that is legal and so forth. It's like putting a chilling effect on the business enterprise. Nowhere in the world is it like it in America. this is free enterprise. And they should be allowed to go on and pursue. There is nothing illegal about what they're doing. The parking, as you can see in the right-hand, my side, right-hand corner, it says Caribbean parking only. That's the parking spot. And the councilman has been trying to tell us that he wants to eliminate some of the parking problems in the area. These 19 spots that you see will do and take away some of the parking concerns that he has. We have cooperated with him, Your Honor. We signed a community good neighbors agreement with him just a month or 6 weeks ago. We have tried to do everything that he has asked us to do. There's no reason for him to come in to say we should not get this variance. So with that, I close. I don't know if Ms. Clemens wants to add anything to it, if you would allow her to do so or not, Your Honor.
Thank you. Yes, Ms. Clemens, would you like to add anything to that before I move to other?
Yes, I would like to say that we've been compliant throughout this whole ordeal. We have no incidents. We have fully staffed security. Anything that was requested, we have done. So Jimmy, my attorney, he pretty much summed it up. I just wanted to say we've been very diligent through this whole ordeal.
All right, thank you.
You're welcome.
Carl, is there anything you wanted to add on this? Did you swear in?
I was hoping to wait until the councilman weighed in.
What is your standing in this case, sir?
I live in the neighborhood.
Okay, well, go ahead. I'm calling on you now.
Well, my concern is that the existing situation with the bar, and it is not so much with the bar, but with its patrons. Patrons routinely park on East 72nd Place, which is a single lane, one-way street. And if there are any cars parked on it, it will block emergency vehicle access. That would include EMS and fire trucks. Also, the parking on St. Clair, you can see where the yellow lines are around the building. There's a fire hydrant right in front of the building. And the patrons routinely park in front of that fire hydrant, blocking that. That's a safety issue. There are any number of vacant lots that the bar owner could access, possibly via lease, to comply with the city's requirements. And just as a matter of public policy, I think that routinely waiving these parking requirements is just bad public policy. And as evidence of that, I would offer up the parking situation in Ohio City as Exhibit A for what happens when the zoning board or the powers that whoever manages to allow parking variances that are required by the zoning regulations to be waived. Now, I'm not suggesting that that situation exists yet at this address or anywhere in Ward 10 that I'm aware of, but clearly it's a slippery slope. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, Councilman Harrison.
Good morning, Madam Chair, members of the board. Thank you for allowing me to speak this morning. First and foremost, let me say that I am supportive of small businesses, and particularly those who are in an industry where they have been impacted the most by COVID-19. So let me start there. So I am not anti-business, anti-small business in the neighborhood. What I am is for businesses who would operate with decency, business that will operate within the confines of the cities and laws and ordinances of the city of Cleveland. So again, I am still not in support of this variance this morning, as I wrote to you all before. And as Mr. Mack said, that we just recently entered into a second co-op agreement with the property owners here at 7114 St. Clair. there was a previous operating agreement, co-op agreement that they had signed with the previous council person. And part of the reason that I objected to their liquor renewal this time is because they had several incidents, safety incidents that had occurred in and around their location at 714 St. Clair. And what I asked of the owners was that they begin to work on the plan to deal with some of the issues that the residents had brought to my attention through various conversations regarding the parking, regarding the noise, regarding the patrons that were outside of the property. And they have begun to make the necessary steps to address those previous situations that we have had on this corner. As you see from the picture, this is a very tight corner, a very tight corner. 72nd Place is a very, very tight street, and it's a one-way street. So there's about 6 houses on the street who 6 houses where people live in those houses, and they have expressed concerns regarding the operation. So therefore, that is also what prompted my objection to renewal. Fast forward, I recently reached out to the attorney and said, hey, currently I am not in support of your variance. You should consider maybe withdrawing your request, allow some time for myself and the community to ensure that you intend to run the business the way that we want to see it run, and that there's no additional incidents will take place on the property. Simple request. I didn't say that I was not possibly going to support a variance in the future. However, at this moment, if we are having issues with the current situation, one floor usage of the property, and the limited parking that we have, I can only imagine what we would have if we allow for this to be extended to the basement and to the 3rd floor, and to allow for a variance for the parking on the exterior. Again, the community wants to see that they will operate at the level that we would like them to operate before we consider supporting their variance. The issues that have taken place at their property is public record. So those are situations that can be viewed by members of this board if they so choose. Again, the community currently, as it says right now, is not supportive of the variance because of the many issues that they've had in the past. And we, the community, want to ensure that they will operate at a certain level that we want to see before we consider supporting this business and allowing for the variance. Thank you.
Madam Chair, may I just add one comment? I mean, a couple comments. Madam Chair, all of this was taken care of, and we discussed as we met with the councilman. Madam Chair, that the off parking, that's why it's an inconsistent argument by the council person, because the off parking will eliminate some of the problems that they are talking about. The criteria that the board looks at is, and there are like from A to G, that we meet all the criteria and the property is in question. They want to run our business, and I'm not saying the councilman doesn't have to, but we have to run our business. If we sat back and waited for the community to tell us how to run our business, when to try to increase our business, when to try to expand our business, that is not what the problem is. If there had been a problem by the councilman that he thought that we were not running this business well, he would not have agreed to the agreement that we had to continue to go on and do the business. There have been no altercations, no problems since the agreement has been set down. For them to come in now and say, we want, the community wants to run this business. That's not the way that it goes, Madam Chair. And as you can know from the things, there is not a big size. There's no problem. He hasn't talked about how the neighborhood is going to be changed, anything of that. All he's saying is, I want to be able to take a look. You can see there's ample spot. They will take care of this. I believe that substantial justice would be to continue to let this free enterprise, this business move on. And if the councilman has any problems, he knows that he can call the Cleveland Police Department or anybody else to take care of the parking. We have eliminated that problem. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Matt. I'm not sure, Liz or Maurice, can someone chime in about what this parking lot is? Because this is 19 spaces and they need 20, then they need a variance for 1. And has it been written up different? Like, I'm just a little confused now about what we're actually looking at here.
So, Madam Chair, the proposed parking lot, I don't know if you can see my mouse cursor here. I believe is right where the mouse cursor is, right where it says St. Clair Avenue. So it is across the street and down the street a bit. There are no crosswalks. We don't have a lease agreement in hand, at least I'm not aware of one. We've also never actually gotten a site plan that shows that there are 19 spots on there, what the drive aisle
Okay.
width is, or any of those details. So before we could even consider to use that as the off-street parking requirement that they need, we would need that. However, I do also acknowledge the councilman's concerns about the parking in the area. I can tell you that East 72nd Place is in fact a very narrow street, and I can see where having customers parking on the street can be a real problem. St. Clair is a very wide right-of-way, as I'm sure most people are aware, and there are no, crosswalks. It's a very weird intersection right here at, I think that's 72nd and St. Clair. If you can see, it's a diagonal intersection. So it's a very long intersection. It's a very long street. There's no crosswalks. So I just wonder if patrons would use the parking lot all the way across the street when they could potentially park right on the street on 72nd.
Again, Madam Chair, these are, if you allow me to speak again, these are concerns that are hypothetical. They're somewhere down, and we could sit here and have all the kinds of hypotheticals we want. We did provide
Mr. Mack, yeah, I agree. The parking lot that you shown that has the 19 spaces, does or Ms. Clemens can answer, does she own that or is she leasing that from someone? Like, what is
My husband owns that parking lot. We own it. We're not leasing it. And it's more than 19 spaces. It's actually 21. And we submitted the documents. I have a confirmation to Elizabeth Kukla. We emailed that to her from the architect. My architect also emailed it, and he sent us confirmation on that as well with the digital prints. And I'm sorry, our patrons also park over there. We pay a security guard to patrol the lot, and it is being utilized.
Madam Chair, could the appellant tell us who the architect was that would send that to us?
Yes, I'm looking now. I'm going back to my sent emails and I can tell you. Please give me 1 second, ma'am.
Sure. And Madam Chair, while she's speaking, I was able to check the ownership across the street, and it is in a different name, however. So it's A&R Rental LLC.
Yes, that's my husband. Eric Gregory owns A&R Rental.
And so, Madam Chair, they may not need a variance. Is Mr.
That's why I need this figured out, because if that's the case, then they don't even need to come here.
I see Chuck is on the line. I'm not sure if this is his area of expertise. He's filling in for Mr. Riccardi. But the question is, Chuck, if it's in the same ownership and it's within 400 feet, do they still need a variance for the parking?
I see he's kind of unmuted. Does anybody hear him?
No.
No.
Chuck, are you there?
Chuck?
Yep.
Did he answer? Chuck?
I heard something.
I did, and then it kind of
Hello?
went away. Yes.
Hello?
Chuck,
Can you
can you
hear me?
hear us? Yes, we can hear you. Can you
Okay.
hear us?
Okay. What's the question, please?
Okay. Go ahead, Liz.
Yeah, Chuck, are you aware of that code section that, in regards to parking, if it is within 400 feet of the subject property and in the same ownership, and it meets the number of parking spaces required, is a variance still necessary?
Okay. When it's within 200 of, when it's within 200 feet of the location, then it's left for the Board of Zoning Appeals to consider granting the permission, and it has to have a contract with the owner of the parking space.
I'm sorry, are you saying that they still need the variance?
Yeah, they need a variance.
Okay, that's my misunderstanding then, Madam Chair. I thought there was something in the code that relieved them from the variance requirements if the two parcels are in the same ownership. Thank you, Chuck.
You're welcome.
Okay, so I think we have enough information to proceed here. Although yeah, I don't know if this case was reviewed in that lens though, that the ownership was the same. It was just it's been a lot of iterations of this in front of us. So I'm a little trying to figure out how to proceed here.
Madam Chair, I represent Eric Gregory, and A&R is Eric Gregory, who is also the building owner there at 7114 St. Clair.
Okay, thank you.
Mhm.
I don't know, Ms. Kukla, we had this before. I mean, was this reviewed as the case before we got it? Or was this a revelation that came after the?
So our records indicate that we only received floor plans at the time from the applicant. These floor plans were stamped by Building and Housing, so it's my understanding that Building and Housing only saw the floor plans and not the parking plans, which came later. I have hard copies of a parking plan that was received on July 26th. And their original application was made to us May 5th. However, the parking plans don't seem to have the stamp from Building and Housing on it. So when they were delivered to us, I did not ask if this was reviewed by Building and Housing or not. I apologize.
Madam Chair, may I ask a question?
Yes.
So I seem to recall in the notes on this calendar says that our first postponement was to provide time to buy a land bank lot for parking. I'd like to know if the lot that is currently owned by Mr. Gregory was in fact purchased from the land bank, or if that's unrelated.
Yeah, Madam Chair, may I answer?
Yes.
That is unrelated. The land bank is
That was the one directly next
Hairston.
door, correct?
Yeah, and Councilman Hairston refuses to allow us to purchase that. That's why we bought across the street. He is blocking that because for some reason, I don't know, it came up at the meeting why he won't allow us to buy that. So we went and bought the property across the street so that we would have the parking there and that would not be an issue.
Thank you for answering the question.
Okay, so it seems to me, I don't know, Liz, if you agree that I think the whole package needs to be submitted to Building and Housing with the parking that they recently purchased, and not piecemealing it in front of us today.
I would agree with that, Madam Chair.
Great.
And so would I, Madam Chair, because that lot was not what was presented to us originally. And so we've never seen the drawings for that. At least I haven't.
I would
Right.
agree.
Okay, thank you.
Mhm.
All right, so we're gonna postpone this. Ms. Clemens and Mr. Mack, you need to what you submit. Liz, do you need to forward it over to Building and Housing, or do they need to submit a whole new package?
I think I can email this over to Rick Riccardi and see if we can get that conversation going with him.
Okay.
I think I found the original email that the appellant was talking about. There's some confusion because it came from an email that I didn't recognize. So I do see which ones she's talking about there. It is just the parking lot, though. We did have the floor plans originally. So I can email those to Rick Riccardi.
Okay, great.
Madam Chair, Liz just sent these to me. I can put them up on the screen in just 1 second if you want to take a look at them.
Well, we're not gonna review the case anymore today, so
Okay.
because we didn't have all this up front. So I think
Right.
Building and Housing needs to do its proper due diligence and review this, see what the exact issues are and what variances are needed with this parking lot. So we'll postpone this. Liz, can we just get like the quickest date we can get next to put it on, and hopefully Building and Housing can look at it, during that time.
Sure. November 7th, however, would be the soonest date. Okay, thank you.
All right, so Ms. Clemens, we're gonna postpone this till November 7th so that Building and Housing can review your parking lot as you presented it today, because it was not reviewed, and so we don't know what the outcome will be, whether you might need variances or not. So if you don't need them, you won't have to come back here, and then if
Right.
you do, it'll be written as is, as it was submitted in a full package.
Thank you.
So,
Right.
all right, thank you.
Mhm.
Okay. Next case.
All right. Next case is calendar number 22-167. This is at 7416 Colgate Avenue. Rebuild Cleveland LLC owner proposes to erect a 1.5-story frame single-family modular residence with detached garage in a B1 two-family residential district. The owner appeals for relief from the strict application of the Cleveland Codified Ordinances as outlined in the agenda and the public record, of which there is one. And with that, I will hand it over to Ms. Brown for the oath.
Thank you. I'm swearing in all who are present for this case. Do you swear or affirm that the testimony you're about to give is the whole truth and nothing but the truth? Please raise your hand, reply, I do, state your name and your address, please.
I do. Seth Task, 36350 Dorchester Road, Gates Mills, Ohio, 44040.
Anyone else for this case? Madam Chair.
Thank you. History of the property, please.
Thank you, Madam Chair. There's been no change in the zoning since 1929. I did not find any variances on this file, and we didn't find any records in our records administration office. And that's all I have for you. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you. Legal standard, please.
Madam Chair, members of the board, appellant is requesting an area variance from the minimum distance regulations of the zoning code. To obtain the area variance, appellant must prove that denying the request will create a practical difficulty not generally shared by other land or buildings in the same district, will deprive the appellant of substantial property rights, and that granting the variance will not be contrary to the purpose and intent of the zoning code.
Thank you. Okay, Mr. Task, tell us what you like to do.
Sure. Yeah, Madam Chair, we're actually going to amend our request at this time. based on a couple mitigating circumstances, we had been waiting for the lot in between there. We own 7416 Colgate as well as 7504, which is 2 lots to the left. The lot in the center is was owned by somebody that we just couldn't find, and it recently was acquired by the City of Cleveland Land Bank. We have submitted application to purchase that lot, and that will help us out in what we actually are planning to put on this particular lot. There's a couple errors though in that original application. We are not building a 1.5 story home. We are building a 1-story home with a basement. And we were not proposing to put the house 3.32 feet from the line. We are proposing to put it 4.32 feet from the line. However, what we're proposing at this point is to put it 5 feet from the adjacent lot.
So you just need a whole new submission, basically, is what you're saying?
Are we allowed, can we amend our submission? I mean, is that?
Liz, is that possible? Because it's kind of like written up already.
Well, Madam Chair,
They're just changing the feet, so can we proceed?
a question to the appellant, is there going to be a lot split and consolidation here? Are you giving more land to the subject parcel?
No, we're going to build something smaller in between.
Okay,
So the distance between the structure that eventually ends up between these 2 lots will be smaller.
okay. So Madam Chair, you're looking at possibly a 0 lot line in this case. I think they would have to push it very far to the other property line. I'm not sure if that's something that the board is going to want to do. But just answering your question directly to you, Madam Chair, they are requesting a smaller variance, if that makes sense. They're not asking for more. So the variance.
So that's fine. Yeah,
right.
I got you.
So they are giving more relief. So they are not going to need as much of a variance, but they'll still need that.
Yeah, we will be, this particular structure will be 3.64 feet from the left lot line and 5 feet from the right.
4.
So Madam Chair, this is very similar to us on the record asking them to move it over a couple feet. You know, we do those things at the hearing. So at our hearings, so I think we could go forward.
Okay.
We do have Mary on the line. If she's our attorney, she may have a different legal view, but I know we've done this in the past.
The adjacent structure, by the way, is only 1 inch over our line, by the way. I think that you have the perception it's 1 foot.
It says it right there in the circle.
It says 0.1 feet.
And so, Madam Chair, to the appellant, is this the updated plan we're looking at? Because I see 4 feet and not 5. Or am I reading that wrong? Oh, 6984, sorry.
Yeah, we were asking to put it at 4.32, and I think that the committee, or how, I'm not sure who actually put 3.32, because I think that you felt that that was 1 foot. It's 0.1 feet. So that the adjacent structure is less than 1 inch over our property line. Wondering how they were even able to build that structure, but that's another tale.
So, Madam Chair, we get our information from the Building and Housing Review. And those are the figures that they gave us, as well as the 1.5 story language. It also says that the dimensions will be 26 by 56. And it says minimum distance between dwellings on an adjacent lot is 6 feet. Oh, sorry, 6 feet is required, and the appellant is proposing 3.32. So the write-up states that they'll be within 3 feet
But
of the adjacent dwelling
to 4.9 feet from the structure and 5 feet from the property line.
So Madam Chair, again, just to be clear, it's 3.32 according to the write-up, but the appellant is saying 4.32 on the record?
Yeah, that's what what you're looking at. That's the survey as we had submitted it originally, was 4.32 feet from the property line. And since we are in the process of being able to acquire this other lot, we're proposing 5.0 feet from the property line and 4.9 feet from the adjacent structure to the right.
So, Madam Chair, Maurice Rowland, City Planning, I'd like maybe offer a little bit of clarity on this.
Yes.
This originally went to the HDRS committee, kind of. We didn't actually have a site plan on this one. We actually reviewed the one. Let me zoom out here. That's 2 lots over. They're building this house over here that's on the left side, which is 2 lots, or there's a vacant lot in between. They are now proposing to purchase this land bank lot in the middle. The piece that we're looking at today was at the Board of Building Standards a couple of weeks ago, because the house is too close to the adjacent house. I don't remember what it was written up for Board of Building Standards, but it requires a fire-rated wall on that side in order to be as close as they were proposing to the existing structure. And because the applicant can correct me if I'm wrong, but from what I gather, because it's a manufactured house, they were not able to modify the house. At least that's what was said at the BBS meeting, and to add a fire-rated wall. So they withdrew from the Board of Building Standards, and the Board of Building Standards said that they would rather see the Board of Zoning Appeals. They threw it back into your court and to see if you would grant the variance first. We had some online discussions with the applicant. We said, well, why don't you move the house, the new house, as far to the left-hand side as you possibly can? Because right now they're at 4.32 feet. We were saying to go to 3 and maybe even less than 3 feet. And then we were saying that you could then take the other house that they're proposing and move that one over to the left even more, because they have larger side yards than they need on both sides of that. And that would in turn, I hope this isn't too confusing, give the center lot wouldn't cause them to anybody that purchases the center lot, whether it was them or somebody else, would not impose any restrictions on the distance to adjoining structures. So it's kind of a complicated thing. We wanted to get the house built. We think it's a great project. It's just that house has a bump out, which I can show you on the pictures. Again, who knows how it got built that way. Let's go in the wrong direction here. Hold on a second.
You're talking the adjacent house to the right?
Yeah, if you look at the bottom right-hand picture here, there's a little bump out that was built probably without permits, and it's an inch over the property line.
So that's only over the property line. I was like, what is over the property line? Okay, so that is
right.
I got it now.
So it's like, I don't know, maybe a 10-foot piece. Yeah, I don't know. So they're the one, that house right there is what's causing all of the issue here. And, obviously this is a safety issue. It isn't an aesthetic issue for us and for the city and the building code, which, is not something we take lightly at all. And the applicant can maybe, did you find a way to modify the plan so that you can fire rate that wall?
Yeah, so well, I mean, we'd be happy to do that. The problem is this, one of the reasons we're doing this, and you guys will see us a lot in the future. These are our first 2 houses that we're doing. Our goal is to create workforce and affordable housing, single family in the city, because nobody's doing it, and we want to be able to provide an affordable option to buyers to live in, to the live in place. These are ranches, and age in place. The problem with this particular one was this fire rated situation where, in order to meet the code, we needed a fire rated wall if we were putting the structure within 5 feet of the property line. That was the code, was the 5 feet. So with us proposing 5 feet meets that code. That's why I'm proposing to be 5 feet from the property line, because then we're okay with that code. Now I'm just hearing this 6 feet from the structure. So what you're saying to me is, and I guess that, listen, if we're able to acquire that middle lot, and I'm hoping to hear back from James Green here in the next couple of days about that, we'll move both houses 5 feet on the left. We propose to move 7504, 5 feet from that property line, so we don't have to do a fire rated wall all the way around. And we'll move the house to the right as far to the left as we need to. And then we'll just build something smaller in between so that when we come back for that one, we'll meet.
You won't need it, yeah.
We need to, for you guys to approve whatever we built there. But the problem is that we really did not expect. We jumped. I'm going to be honest. We jumped the gun. We ordered the houses. They're built. They're waiting for us to put on the site. We're ready to go, and to bring them here, pull all the siding off, do a fire wrap, adds thousands of dollars to the house, which is going to be passed on to the consumer. And we're really hoping not to have to do that.
Yeah, no, I got it. I think we just need, Liz, I think we just need to have the write-up, once if we move forward with this, to make sure it reflects what the appellant just said, as well as Maurice. You guys have, reviewed this and you're okay with the situation due to this illegal bump out on this house. Cause I was like, what's over? I was so confused.
That messed everything
what was over. Yeah, about what was over the property line. And now I see exactly what it is. Okay.
So, Madam
Yeah,
Chair.
we are obviously very much in support of this project and what they're doing here in the city. We definitely need affordable housing. It's just one of those safety issues that we got to figure out a way to make this work.
Okay.
So, Madam Chair, to the appellant, is he stating now that he would be willing to move the structure 5 feet away from the bump out? Because the issue again is that they're required to be 6 feet away from a structure on an adjacent lot. Okay. And they're proposing less than that, which again, I think it's 4 something. I can't remember the exact number.
It's 4.9. If we're 5 feet from the lot, we meet that requirement for not having a fire rated wall. If you need us to be 6 feet from that structure, we're happy to do that. If that's what it takes for us to not have to fire rate both of these houses, and then we will just be cognizant of what we build in the middle, knowing that nothing will get approved if it's. So in other words, if you tell us we need to be 6 feet from that structure on the right and 5 feet from the property line on 7504 Colgate on the left, then that's what we'll do.
And then you said you'll adjust the middle house to be smaller so that the moving of those 2 houses won't affect that one. So
yeah,
then,
we just need to be 6. We just need to be 6 feet. Well, the fire rate. Here's the other thing. The factory that we're buying, I know this is sort of beyond this scope, but the factory that we're buying these first 2 ranches from is not giving us the option, even in the future, to build fire rated walls. We're working with 2 different factories on these modulars. The other one comes from Pennsylvania. We are able to do fire rated walls on those. So we will be able to put something in the middle that has fire rated walls. Okay. And so that if we have to play with, this being 3 feet and 3 feet, but still being fire rated, we can do that. We just can't do it on these first 2.
Okay.
So,
Madam Chair, I still think if you hold off and, if they hold off and with the 3, I think it's actually possible to get the same size house on all 3 properties by having control of all 3 parcels. You may be able to slide things around, because I do think there's enough room with the other 2 parcels if you look at them holistically between 3. But that's up to the applicant if they want to do it that way.
Well, again, we'll do whatever we need to. I just need to know where we need to be on the left and the right so that we can get approved and move forward and pull our permits and dig.
Okay.
Madam Chair.
All right. Yeah, go ahead, Liz. I know you've been trying to talk for a minute there.
Let's be clear to the appellant. These are zoning issues that we're dealing with today. We cannot promise you that if we give you a variance today that you would be relieved of the firewall requirements.
Right.
I wasn't privy to the conversation at that hearing. You mentioned 5 feet. Did the board tell you that if you moved it to 5 feet, you wouldn't need a firewall?
That's the code.
Okay, so the building code states that.
That's correct. Problem is in the middle, because we could be 5 feet from the left and we can be 5 feet from the right, but we
With the
won't
middle
then
house.
be 5 feet on the inside.
I-
That's why we need to control that lot. And that was one of
So
the
we're,
problems.
but we're looking at the, yeah, we're looking at the one that is in front of us today, so that's what we'll.
I understand.
So now, Madam Chair, we need to know how close to meeting the 6 feet from that building does the appellant want to go, and what would you feel comfortable with? Or is Mr. Rowland stating that he wants a postponement to see what the other designs look like?
No, I'm not suggesting we postpone it. That's up to the applicant. I was just saying that so that you wouldn't necessarily have to make a smaller house in the middle. But no, if the applicant wants to move forward now and make the adjustments, right, we would just need to know the side yards on both houses. I'm sorry, the side yards on both sides of that house. You know, how wide is it going to be on the left side, and how wide is it going to be on the right side? Because you may kick in another variance if you go too far on the other side.
Yeah, so I mean, I would speak to the will of the committee, understanding that there's this 6 foot from the adjacent structure. If we need to be 6 feet from the adjacent structure, and that's what will get approved today at 7416 Colgate, then I would propose that we go 6 feet from the adjacent structure, and then that will leave us on the left side with less than 3 feet from the property line, which is a violation of that code. But that's the variance that we'd actually be requesting, I suppose, right? Is to be 2.64 feet from the left property line.
So if
Yeah.
you're
So
if you're only
either,
going,
so either side, moving either way, you're gonna need a variance on, so just let us know what side you want the variance on.
I
What
would
the
tell you-
feet what the feet you need so we can move forward, because I'm getting a little
2.64,
irritated
I
that
know
we're
exactly.
workshopping this.
Let's do this. This is what we need. Let me look at my math. We need here's what we're going to ask for. We're going to ask for 2.63 feet from the left property line.
And
that will give us 6 feet to the structure on the right.
Perfect.
Okay.
And then to Maurice's point, if I may call you Maurice, to Maurice's point, once we eventually do the one in the middle, we will make sure that there's 6 feet between each of the structures. I think that's what you were saying, right, Maurice?
yeah, that's
Well, I mean, if you do, you won't have to come see us, but that's on you to work out later on. We just need to
In
look
the
at.
middle, that's correct.
Yeah,
Right.
yeah.
Okay, Madam Chair,
so you'll be granting. Go ahead.
that is a new variance that he would be adding then, as it'll be a different interior side yard. However, it is his own building, or sorry, it's his own lot that he would be too close to. So just to let you know that does make it a smaller variance. I'm not sure if it's really that extreme for us to repost it, especially since it would only be affecting his lot that he owns. Just to state that for the record, to be clear, that now he's asking for an interior side yard that is 2.63. However, he will not have that issue with it being too close to a structure. So it could be a different code section. And I think that we'd be fine. I would just have to run this by Mr. Riccardi just to get the right code section so that the resolution reflects the right language.
Okay, so you're confident we can move forward with this, it's just that the code language in the resolution has to be correct.
Yes.
Okay,
And Madam Chair, I would believe that we would need a revised drawing.
yeah, that's
Good
coming, that
training.
we definitely
Yeah.
need that, but
We'll
we just
have
need
that
to make
produced.
sure that we have the big
A
stuff.
revised
in
site plan.
place. Yep. Okay.
I'm usually the stickler on fire codes, so I think this arrangement is probably the preferred situation. because the middle lot, the appellant will have the control of that structure. And as he stated, they will be able to deal with the manufacturer that will be able to accommodate the fire-rated walls. And
Although
the,
we're not speaking hypothetically about a project that's not in
right,
front of us right now. We're only
right.
talking about
But the
7416
adjacent,
Colgate.
right, the adjacent house with the addition that's over the line is an older structure, and I think it's important that we protect that. So, so if we're good with the 6 foot and the 2.63, I think that's quite acceptable.
Yeah, there's a lot of banter going back and forth. There's any other questions from the board? They need any clarification on anything? If not, I'll entertain a motion.
Hearing no other questions, Madam Chair, with the discussion that we've had, we're going to, and we know we're going to have to make some changes to the code in the resolution. We're going to amend it to be 2.63 on the left of the lot and 6 foot on the right of the lot next to the adjacent structure. With those changes and the new drawing to be submitted, I move that we approve calendar number 22-167.
Thank you. Can I have a second, please?
Board Member Holzer, second.
Ms. Holzer with the second. Go ahead, call the roll.
Ms. Brown?
Yes.
Ms. Holzer?
Yes.
Ms. Fay?
Yes.
Ms. Britt?
Yes.
Calendar 22-167 is granted conditionally. We will hold ratification until we receive that updated drawing. Once we receive that, we will ratify the case and then we will send the appellant a letter.
Thank you all. Appreciate your service to the city.
All right, thank
Thank
you.
you. Good luck.
Thank you.
Next case.
Next case is calendar number 22-169. This is at 3504 Stanford Avenue. 3504 Stanford LLC owner and Anton Jochum lessee proposed to establish use as a dog training and boarding facility in a G2 limited retail business district. The owner appeals for relief from the strict application of the Cleveland Codified Ordinances as outlined in the agenda and the public record, of which there are 2. And with that, I will hand it over to Ms. Brown for the oath.
I'm swearing in all who are present for this case. Do you swear or affirm that the testimony you're about to give is the whole truth and nothing but the truth? Please raise your hand, reply, I do, state your name and your address, please.
Good morning. My name is Anthony Jochum. I do confirm here. My address is 1302 Irving Avenue, Cleveland, Ohio.
Hi, Darlene Glass, 4274 Pro Road. I do.
Anyone else? Madam Chair.
Thank you. History of the property, please.
Thank you, Madam Chair. The property was originally zoned general retail in 1929. In 2017, it was changed to the current limited retail business district. In our records administration office, we found that in October of 1946, a permit was issued to erect a one-story addition for body shop and lavatory. And then, Madam Chair, I believe that's all that we have that's relevant. There are no variances on file. Thank you.
Thank you. Legal standard, please.
Madam Chair, members of the board, appellant is requesting a use variance and an area variance from the distance regulations of the zoning code. To obtain the use variance, appellant must prove that denying the request will result in an unnecessary hardship particular to the property such that there will be no economically feasible use of the property without the variance, will deprive appellant of substantial property rights, and that granting the variance will not be contrary to the purpose and intent of the zoning code. To obtain the area variance, appellant must prove that denying the request will create a practical difficulty not generally shared by other land or buildings in the same district, will deprive the appellant of substantial property rights, and that granting the variance will not be contrary to the purpose and intent of the zoning code.
Thank you. Okay, who will be the spokesperson for this case?
Yes, this is me, Anthony.
Okay, go ahead, Mr. Jokum.
Yes, so we are a dog training facility. We have a location at 4521 State Road currently. We've been in business for 3 years, and we are very quickly growing, just for the amount of dogs that have been adopted and received through COVID-19 and people bringing dogs into their homes. So we are now trying to have our new training facility moved to 35, I forgot my own address here. 3504. Thank you so much. Nervous. To open up a new section of our dog training project here, where we're going to start to board dogs overnight and keep dogs with us as we train them. It isn't a doggy daycare or dog park type of free-for-all setting. This is going to be more structured. Our training will be with the client one-on-one, and then when we are training the dogs overnight, they'll be with a training or a staff member.
Okay, what are your hours and days of operation will be?
Yeah, so with clients, we take it would be Monday through Saturday, and then the boarding dogs will be with us overnight. The hours are usually from 9 a.m. to 7 p.m.
Is that normally by appointment only?
Yes,
Or
that
do
is
you
appointment.
pick? Okay.
Yeah, appointment only.
Madam Chair, to the appellant, what is the capacity for the number of dogs that you can accommodate?
Yeah, so we will do one-on-one training with one client at a time, and then we're proposing 6 boarding rooms that we can use for
Okay.
clients' dogs.
And is the pickup and drop off right in the front, or do you have parking?
So right now we're just working with street parking. There is parking on Stanford as well as Henrights, and then on Pearl Road as well. We won't have more than a client or 2 in the facility at a time, so I don't think parking will be an issue. We don't need a large parking lot for what we're proposing.
Yeah, and parking's not on the variance today either.
I was just curious. And do you have, is there proper drainage in the building for cleanup and things like that?
Yeah, so there are floor drains in the building now that we would be able to clean up and clean up as we need to. Yeah.
Okay, great.
Okay, Ms. Glass, did you want to add anything?
Yes, definitely. I'm Darlene Glass. I work for the Old Brooklyn Community Development Corporation.
Oh, you're from Old Brooklyn. Okay,
Yeah.
forgive me.
That's okay. Who coincidentally are actually located right across the street from where Anthony is proposing to move to. He has been in our neighborhood for over 3 years. He lives in the neighborhood. He has had he has letters of support from his current neighbors as far as any maybe noise or odor issues that you might bring up. That they have had no issues at all. He has been working with that, and he has plans definitely for soundproofing. I don't know if you go back to the schematic on his presentation, there was a drawing of the building right there. Okay, so on the left there, you'll see that those would be the boarding kennels there, which would be completely soundproofed, all weather controlled. The hallway down the side would create another sound barrier so that there's no issues. He also did get, there was a property located to the left that he did get a letter of support from the neighboring property there. So that's covered. So we're looking forward to him moving. Actually, I'm glad he's expanding. Here in Old Brooklyn, we have, I think actually he's the only dog trainer located in our neighborhood. So he's very needed, especially like he stated with all the rescue animals. We also have support from Councilman Chris Harsh, who could not make it today, but I did send a letter right before the meeting. He just sent one along. He also brought up some of the things there that Anthony has already brought up, but I just wanted to add, he said, please let the board know my strong feelings about how dogs contribute to neighborhood safety by encouraging people to walk the area and interact with their neighbors more regularly. Dogs make our community safer, not just as loyal pets in our homes, but as socializing creatures as we walk them and interact with our neighbors. In this way, Turning Point contributes to the community as large, as well as individual dog owners. I support Turning Point dog training and moving to this new location. So I did attach that letter. I sent it off before the meeting. So you'll have that. And I know Anthony has already sent along all his letters of support. Like I said, it's definitely a needed service, and so glad that he's going to be expanding to not only just a larger facility, but he's also going to be adding more employees also, which is definitely going to help our neighborhood. So I just wanted to throw our support in there for him. And we've been working with him and the owners and just making sure that all this is going to work in the space. And they've been very, very complacent and just trying to do everything they can to make this happen.
Great, thank you, Ms. Glass.
Welcome.
All right, any further questions from the board? If not, I'll entertain a motion.
Hearing no questions, Madam Chair, I'll move forward. As I often state, there are more households in the U.S. with dogs than there are with children. And we know that there has been a large surge in dog adoption during COVID, and many of the new pet parents need support in getting their dogs acclimated. And so the CDC supports this, the councilman supports this, certainly is for all the reasons that Ms. Glass noted in the letter from Council Harsh. It's an asset to the neighborhood. We have the hours as stated and the capacity to be one-on-one training with 6 dogs being boarded and the safety of the dogs being assured with adjacent street parking. So with all that, Madam Chair, I move that we go ahead and approve calendar number 22-169.
Thank you. Can I have a second?
Member Brown, I second.
Ms. Brown was the second. Go ahead, call the roll.
Ms. Holzer,
Yes.
Ms. Brown,
Yes.
Ms. Fake,
Yes.
Ms. Britt.
Yes.
Calendar number 22-169 is granted. It'll be ratified next week, and we will send the appellants a letter.
Thank you guys so much.
Good luck to you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Good luck.
Thanks.
All right, next case.
All right, next case, calendar number 22-171. This is at 2119 West 10th Street. Shannon Ashmore and Ali Carvar, owners, propose to erect 3-story, 3,800 square foot single-family residence with 2 concrete parking spaces located in a C1 multifamily residential district. The owners appeal for relief from the strict application of the Cleveland Codified Ordinances as outlined in the agenda and the public record, of which there are 4. And with that, I will hand it over to Ms. Brown for the oath.
Thank you. Do you swear, excuse me, I'm swearing in all who are present for this case. Do you swear or affirm that the testimony you're about to give is the whole truth and nothing but the truth? Please raise your hand. Reply, I do. State your name and your address, please.
I do. Wesley Harper, 812 Huron Road East, Suite 305, Cleveland 44115.
I do. Donna Gregonis, 2406 Professor Avenue with Tremont West Development Corporation.
Okay, is that all? All right. History of the property, please.
Thank you, Madam Chair. There's been no change in the zoning since 1929. And the most pertinent information that we found was in May of 2019, a permit was issued to demolish a two-story, two-family dwelling at this location. Thank you.
Thank you. Legal standard, please.
Madam Chair, members of the board, appellant is requesting area variances from the maximum gross floor area, required rear yard, and fencing regulations of the zoning code. To obtain area variances, appellant must prove that denying the request will create a practical difficulty not generally shared by other land or buildings in the same district, will deprive the appellant of substantial property rights, and that granting the variances will not be contrary to the purpose and intent of the zoning code.
Thank you. Go ahead, Mr. Harper.
All right, thank you. Good morning. Again, my name is Wesley Harper, Horton Harper Architects, and the site that we're looking at is on the eastern side of West 10th Street in Tremont. And what we're proposing is a new single-family house of roughly 3,600 square feet, I believe it says on the plans. And the variances that we are requesting are quite typical for new construction in the near west side and Tremont specifically. The side yard setbacks are at minimum 5 feet. So it's the rear yard that we're looking to get a variance on. You can see in the plan, there's a bit of a jog in the rear yard, which causes the home to have a small setback relative to the zoning code. It's at 7'2", is what we're requesting. But in reality, we're probably 60 or 70 feet from the rear yard that faces Thurman. We have been to the neighborhood. We actually did the house to the southeast in this image. Those folks are supportive, as well as the property owners on the north and south side on West 10th Street. This went to Block Club, was unanimously approved. And then last week, I believe it was approved as designed. And Donna could weigh in that when she's ready. But I don't know if there are any other images in this presentation, but again, here's the plans, the elevations. We're not asking for any sort of height variance, but all the variances were discussed with the neighborhood, and they were supportive. So if there's anything else, I'd be happy to answer it, but open up for comments or input from the neighborhood. Thanks.
Thank you.
Madam Chair, I do have one question.
Okay.
Was this a single lot, or did you adjoin two lots to make a buildable lot?
I think 10 to 20 years ago, this may have been two parcels, but we did not physically consolidate anything. This was the lot that was purchased in its current dimensions.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, go ahead, Donna.
Good morning, Madam Chair and members of the board. So this was presented to the North of Literary Block Club, and they approved unanimously to support the variances. And the neighbors are, it seems like, happy about the variances being approved as well. And during Economic Development Committee for Tremont West Development Corporation, they did approve this as presented, but there was a lot of discussion regarding the parking pad. And there were some some questions that weren't totally clarified regarding the parking pad. So some of them were concerned that the parking pad is almost deep enough for tandem parking, but they were suggesting to maybe make it a little bit deeper, like 2 feet, so that there could be easier to tandem park there. Because the way people park on that road right now is a little cumbersome, and they wanted to avoid that condition in the future. But again, they were approved unanimously aside from that.
Okay. Thank you. Any other questions from the board?
Did we have city planning weigh in?
I was hitting that. That's why I was
Okay.
asking
Oh,
if
yeah.
if you
No,
had any
I'm,
more questions. Okay.
to Ms. Gregonis, when you say tandem parking, are you meaning one car in front of the other? Because as in the
Yeah.
drawing, it's shown side to side.
Yes, so as it's shown now, a standard car at that parking pad should be able to park, two standard cars should be able to park behind each other because that is how some of the people on the street do treat it already. But it ends up being an impediment to the people walking behind it sometimes if it's not deep enough. And I know they said that the intention wasn't to do that, but it just is the condition of the road and how that street is built. So they just wanted to take that in consideration. They said either make it smaller so that people couldn't tandem park or make it longer so that when they do tandem park, but they also weren't sure if the plan was maybe to build a garage on this site later. So again, there were some unanswered questions at Economic Development Committee that maybe Mr. Harper can elaborate on if he's able
Yeah.
to.
Yeah, thank you, Donna. Unfortunately, I wasn't able to attend the Tremont West meeting last Thursday. I had a scheduling conflict, but the reason the parking area is as deep as it is currently is because Thurman is really an extremely narrow street / alley. It's not even really a street. And
Yes,
so,
we have many complaints about Thurman here at the board, so
Yeah.
we know all about that street.
yeah. So the idea of having it as deep as it is that you would have a proper, basically, area to pull out from the cars where they're shown right now. So let's say from the rear bumper of the car to the eastern curb of Thurman, we'd have, 20 to 24 feet to back out. The client isn't interested in making the parking pad smaller or larger. It's not a variance. And I think the logic that we have here makes sense in keeping it the dimension as it is.
Madam Chair, to Mr. Harper. So the parking pad as it is now, I think you just said, in addition to the width of Thurman, gives you 20 to 24 feet, just so you have an adequate turning radius. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Yeah, okay, great. No more questions from me, Madam Chair.
Thank you. Maurice?
Madam Chair, Maurice Rowland, City Planning. I might make a comment that I don't believe this house has been to the HDRS committee yet, so I don't think it has that approval. And those are issues that, with regard to the parking in the rear, those are things that could be addressed or discussed further at that point. As far as the variances, as Mr. Harper has stated, these are common variances that we grant in the Tremont area, actually in Ohio City as well. The area variance, just because we're going up 3 stories, really is why we're getting a larger, that we're building more house on the site. The only issue that I really had that I wanted to go over was the fact that the fence would be closer to the house than what is permitted, but I also wanted to point out that in the area where it will be closer to the house than the 6-foot height, there really are no windows on the adjacent house pointing towards that fence. So I don't think it really is a negative impact at all. And so we would recommend approval of these variances.
All right, thank you. All right, with no other questions from the board, I'll entertain the motion.
Madam Chair, hearing no other questions, I'm going to move forward with a motion. We have had, as Ms. Gregonis has stated, approval from both the Economic Development Company and the Block Club. City Planning is in approval. It does need to go through the design review, but I think we're satisfied with the dimensions and the fence issue that Mr. Rowland's just detailed, and also the length of the parking pad. So with all that said, I move that we go ahead and approve calendar number 22-171.
Thank you. And we'll just add a friendly amendment that section 34102B, we can't give.
Pardon me. This is Wesley Harper. I'm sorry to interrupt you, Madam Chair. We have been to HDRS. I believe it was reviewed on 2 separate occasions. I have not received any feedback from HDRS.
Actually, if I may interrupt, so the package has been tabled twice at both of those meetings because neither you or the neighborhood planner was able to attend. So that is why you have not received any notes.
Okay, who just spoke out of nowhere? Who was that?
Apologies, this is Allison Henney in City Planning. I chair
Oh, okay.
I chair HGRS.
Okay, thank you.
Okay.
Just wanted to know who you were. All right. Okay. All right, we have a motion. Did you finish your motion?
You made the friendly amendment, Madam Chair.
Amendment,
So, and then we
okay.
had that feedback. So I think we've got everything covered at this point.
Okay, good. All right. Go ahead and call the roll then.
Actually, did you get a second?
Oh, I need a second. Thanks. I got distracted that quick. All right, can I have a second, please?
A second, Madam Chair.
Ms. Brown with the second. Go ahead, call the roll.
Ms. Holzer,
Yes.
Ms. Brown,
Yes.
Ms. Faith,
Yes.
Ms. Britt.
Yes.
Calendar number 22-171 is granted except for number 4 on the list of variances required. We will ratify this next week and we will send the appellant a letter.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. What did we do with 22-168?
It has been withdrawn.
Okay, thank you.
All right. I believe that's it.
That's it then.
Business 1, 2, and 4 without objection.
Without objection.
Without objection.
And I see, yeah, so the APA P&Z will be tomorrow. So I may run into a couple of you guys there as I'm working it, but enjoy all the sessions.
Thank
And
you.
Will
see
you
you
be
guys next
presenting
week.
Will you be presenting at a session or hosting a session? Or,
I'm an APA board member, so I'll be working.
but not actually making a presentation?
Yeah, not on stage. Yeah, no.
Oh, okay.
Stage.
You're behind the scenes tomorrow, right?
I'll
Or
be
at the
behind the scenes
registration
tomorrow.
table?
Yes. No,
not
not
that.
that kind of work. No.
Okay, great.
All right, guys, have a good week.
Thank you. See you tomorrow.
Thank you. Yeah.
All right.